What's up, guys? UFC 307 is this weekend, and I'm here to tell you how I think the fights are going to go based on my predictions for what's going to happen in each one of them. I'm going to start out with the early prelims, end with the main event, and let's move to the first fight of the night, which is going to be Tim Means versus Court McGee. Last card, I did not do good at all. I went like 50-50 on picks. I think I went completely 500. So we're here to completely do much better than that this time. We're going to start with Tim Means versus Court McGee, though. I feel like the advantage in this fight goes to Court McGee for cardio based on where he lives, although Tim Means does have good cardio as well, and he lives at Albuquerque. Pretty sure he trains at elevation, so that actually might mean Tim Means is going to have the advantages, or it's going to be fairly even there. So I think Tim Means, being the bigger, longer ranged guy, typically uses it pretty well. I feel like he'll probably end up winning by decision, just outstriking Court McGee and not really letting Court get going at all. But, it's a close fight, and I could very well see either one of them getting their hand raised. I think if there's going to be a finish, it's going to be Tim Means that gets that done. I'm pretty sure that Court McGee's not really capable of getting finishes, especially at this point in his career, being almost 40 years old. I know that Tim Means is 40, but he at least finished his last win, and he can still get finishes, whereas Court McGee, I'm fairly certain he only has one or two finishes in the UFC. Not all that great. We'll move on to Carla Esparza versus Tisha Pennington. We're just gonna do what you do with women's MMA. The favorite is heads, so we're gonna go with heads. And we're gonna go Tisha by decision. Moving on to the next fight. It's gonna be Ryan Spann versus Ovince St. Preux. We're going to pick Ryan Spann by knockout in round one. I feel as though Ryan Spann's not the 40-year-old man in this fight. Ryan Spann is far more athletic at this point in his life. Has actual knockout power. Sure, OSP does as well, but he just is incapable of harming anyone at this point in his career, it feels like. And the Kennedy Nzechukwu fight, Kennedy just did nothing and allowed OSP to just win the fight. OSP's terrible. He's 40 years old. He's terrible. Ryan Spann's terrible, but he has knockout power. He's probably going to make me look dumb because OSP just somehow wins fights every now and then against these younger than him guys, and it just makes no sense when you see it happen. I'll still be picking Ryan Spann to win by knockout because he has actual somewhat talent versus OSP. Ihor Pereira versus Cesar Almeida. We're picking Cesar Almeida to KO Ihor Pereira very quickly. I guess not very quickly into the round, but we're going to pick first round KO. Ihor Pereira is just not a good fighter. He has Christ tattooed on his chest. Christ being crucified tattooed on his chest. I think that explains the odds for this man to win the fight. You look at him and you see me out there. That's not a man you want to be relying on to win you a fight. Look at the beard. Look at that. Look at that. Over there. That direction. It's just not great, man. It's just not great. You want to be on this side. Now, Cesar Almeida could very well get fraud checked during this fight, though. He is only 5-1. One of those wins is against the guy who was 5-28. Also, Dylan Budka is terrible. He is a terrible fighter. Having that on Cesar Almeida's record means almost nothing. These two fights mean almost nothing other than he won them. He won fights in that situation. So if there's a time that Cesar Almeida is going to get upsetted by a terrible, mediocre fighter, it's this time, but I just don't see it happening. He's training with Alex Pereira for what that means, although last time he was training for a camp, I was hearing that he had not been training very much from Sean Strickland, so, he just doesn't seem like a hard worker, but he might turn that around. That can just change. Alexander Hernandez versus Austin Hubbard. This fight's taking place at lightweight, which matters for Alex Hernandez. He won't be cutting down to featherweight. He is always one of these guys who disappoints you when you pick him. So, I'm going to be picking Alex. I'm still going to be picking him. I feel like he's the better fighter of these two. I just feel like Austin Hubbard has not fought the same level of competition, and that might just be my mistake for thinking that he's not as good for that reason. But Hernandez has actually won against good competition, whereas Austin Hubbard just hasn't fought any. I don't fault him. I do think if this fight goes anything past the first, if it goes into the second round, start immediately thinking that Hubbard's going to win this fight, whether Hernandez is winning it at the moment or not. Which that's a worrisome thing, but Hernandez is one of these guys who he comes out and finishes a guy, knocks him out, makes you think he's there, and then he reminds you in his next fight that he was never really here to begin with. He's lost 2 in a row, and he had recently won before that. I have a feeling we're going to get that win in this section now, and then maybe he picks up another win even after this one as well, but then he pulls his normal routine of catching a loss or 2. I'm going to pick Hernandez to KO him. Probably. I know I said if the second round starts, start picking Hubbard to win, but I'll say early second round. Pick early second. No, we'll stay with the first round, just to kind of put it out there that if Hernandez makes it to a second round, he's probably not going to win. We'll get Hubbard out of here in round 1. We're going to move on to Marina Rodriguez versus Yasmin Lucindo. So it's tells. So the underdog will be winning here. It's going to be by decision because Marina Rodriguez, it's Michelle Watterson. A bunch of decisions. Yep, that is what we're picking there. Moving on to the next interesting fight. Actual interesting fight. Stephen Thompson versus Yoquan Buckley. So, this one holds a place in my heart. It's hard for me to pick. Striking-wise, I actually feel like Stephen Thompson's the far better striker in this fight, and I think it's going to be very evident very quickly. I think Buckley's not going to like what he's feeling on the feet. He's going to immediately start shooting for takedowns after a couple striking exchanges between the two. It might just be 1 or 2. It might be the third. But he is not going to like the speed and weird speed and timing for a 40-year-old guy. It just isn't going to feel like he's going to walk into the fight assuming he's going to be able to actually strike with Stephen Thompson, and I think much like these other guys that have fought Stephen, when it comes to pure striking, they just don't understand the timing with him. They don't understand the timing, the stance. It's a very hard thing to get used to very early into a fight. But I do think Buckley's going to start wrestling very quickly in after a couple exchanges, like I said. And I think that's going to be the big difference in the fight. Stephen Thompson's takedown defense is underrated, but when he fights really good wrestlers like Bilal Muhammad, they hold him down. I think Buckley will be able to land serious damage when he gets a hold of Stephen Thompson, because I think he will be able to get him down. I've got Buckley probably winning by a second round TKO. I'm just worried that Stephen Thompson's chin's not going to be able to handle the damage that Buckley puts on him. Don't sleep on Stephen Thompson to win this by decision. Just letting you know. But I'll be picking Buckley by second round KO. I think Stephen Thompson's a very live dog in this fight, and it makes it very hard for me to pick against him. I really don't want to, but I just think the grappling level of Buckley is going to really affect this fight. All right, we'll move on to this next fight. We're going to be picking... it's going to be Kayla Harrison versus Ketlin Vieira. You have a female fighter in Ketlin Vieira fighting Kayla Harrison. Dude, Kayla, this guy's really good. He's so strong. Ridiculous muscle definition on him. He's got great muscle groupings. Good wrestling, good grappling. I'm just going to pick the better guy here. Going to pick him by round 1 KO. I think what happens here is Kayla gets this girl down and just starts landing his vicious elbows on her. Just nasty elbows, cuts her up. And when he's on top, he really smashes. He's got some vicious elbows. He's going to cut you up, and Ketlin's just going to get TKO'd, potentially submitted if she gives up her back to just kind of quit. But I assume she will not do that, since she was priding herself on her black belt in jiu-jitsu. I assume she's just going to take the TKO loss. Moving on to Kevin Holland versus Roman Dolidze. It really matters which Kevin Holland shows up here. It really matters. If the Kevin Holland that is like jokey, has fun, likes to play around and pop shots at the guy, talk to him while he's fighting and shows up, he is going to dismantle Roman Dolidze on the feet. Make him just look stupid, as Roman Dolidze normally just does for himself on the feet. But he fought Anthony Smith in his last fight, and that made him look a lot better. Don't fall victim into thinking Roman Dolidze is good because he beat the on-paper GOAT Anthony Smith. He's still not all that great. His grappling is good when he's on the ground, but he doesn't really have a way of getting it there outside of, let's say, he knocks down Kevin Holland, which could happen. But his striking is just so bad, I just don't feel like he can do that. And when Kevin Holland is on point, he's actually a good fighter. He's actually good. And it sucks because it's a dude who has that mentality of, oh, well, I wasn't even trying. When this dude is so good, if he actually sits down and tries and puts effort into the fight, he'll do good and he'll win. But he gets down on himself a little and immediately is like, all right, well, I've lost this fight. I'm going to wrap it up to a decision, point fighting loss. And I'm going to start making excuses of, oh, that dude didn't want to fight. I love Kevin Holland. I think he's going to come in here and prove a point in this fight. I think he's the better fighter of these two dudes. Kevin Holland's grappling's good too. Even if they do go to the ground, I think his ability to get up isn't normally good. But against Roman Dolidze, I think it will be good. I think Kevin Holland's going to win this fight by decision. I just think he's going to outskill him on the feet. Roman Dolidze is not good enough to get him down, I would assume. Not with the grappling I've seen from him. Moving on to Jose Aldo versus Mario Batista. This is a fight I'm so excited for. I love Jose Aldo. He's one of my favorite fighters. I've like watched him since WEC. Oh my god, I've watched him since WEC, and just I've always loved his fight style. Sure, he's had some boring fights on on some of the decisions he's had where he's coasted towards the end, but it's just something some of the spectacular finishes he's had just drew me in as a fan. Uh, Mario Batista, he's a good fighter, but I just don't think he's on the level that he needs to be to beat a guy like Jose Aldo. Uh, he's just so experienced, and at this point, the way he looked against Jonathan Martinez made me so happy to see him back in the bantamweight division. And his performance against Merab was so good when he fought him. Literally, Merab couldn't take him down, and you see where that guy's at right now. I'm actually gonna pick Jose Aldo to win by decision. I think Mario Batista has a good chance, but I just feel like it's only because Jose's old and doesn't really use his kicks as often as he used to. He tries to kind of bring you into him a little more than he comes forward, versus he used to come forward a little more often. Sorry, my cat is with me. Say hello to Lemon if you would like to. This is her, my big girl. But yeah, I will be picking Jose Aldo to win by decision, and that'll be it for the Mario Batista versus Jose Aldo fight. Moving on to Raquel Pennington versus Juliana Pena. We will be picking the underdog here, based on the old coin. Juliana Pena is going to win the fight by decision. Let's see. How do we think? God, her last fight was 2 years ago. Oh my god. It's been so long. Okay, so if I went on this based on my real thoughts here, I feel like Pennington's better, more active, will use her jab to keep Pena off of her. They're both terrible. Flailing literally won this girl a title. She flailed and then locked up a rear naked choke with no hooks, no body control, no nothing. There was no fight from Amanda Nunes and an immediate tap where she could have just scrambled to her back immediately. The girl had no hooks. This was an easily escapable rear naked choke. But I have to defend the Pena choice here. So Pena's going to come forward with those crazy swinging wild punches like she does. Double leg Raquel Pennington. And when she gets her down, she's just going to maul her, completely dominate her. Not the way that guy Kayla Harrison does. He's just on a different level of domination, muscle grouping and stuff mainly. But the technique as well for grappling. But anyways, Pennington's just not the same level of grappler that Pena is. I guess I can argue that. Those flailing punches, though, are just going to be too much. The pressure coming forward, she's really going to look like a female Merab Dvalishvili out there. That's the kind of pace I see her putting out there. And that kind of clinical performance too. Pena's she's going to be outstanding in this one. Moving on to Alex Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree. Now, I know what literally everybody's thinking. Everybody's thinking I'm picking Alex Pereira by knockout in round one. Just like this is exactly what you think I'm going to do. And that is exactly what I am going to do. I think Alex Pereira is going to just make this what it was supposed to be. He's going to make this a quick and easy fight for himself, but also somewhat entertaining in the fact of he is going to try to find a vicious way to knock out Khalil Roundtree. That, or, hear me out on this. I know this is like conspiracy theory. He spites Izzy so much. If I had any effort at all, I would clip the video or show you the video clip. Israel Adesanya said in his next fight he wants to submit his opponent. He wants to get his first ever submission. This man, every time Israel Adesanya says something like that, he listens. And I promise you he listened. Hear me out. Alex Pereira submits Khalil Roundtree. He trains with Glover Teixeira. He submitted Sean Strickland in training recently. Glover Teixeira's arm triangle was great. That is something very easily he could teach a guy like Alex Pereira. That translates very quickly. Arm triangle chokes are very easy to learn. The top pressure, and this guy's a sponge. I'm sorry, this guy is a sponge. He learns very well. He actually listens. It's weird. It's like most MMA fighters don't do that because they're all stupid and that's their only option is to do fighting. This dude's actually smart. He has fight IQ. I could actually see this happening, just so you guys know. But I'm going to pick him by round 1 knockout. I think he's going to try to bring a spectacular knockout. I assume the reason I'm not picking submission, though, is I assume he's not going to try to submit him because of Khalil brings this striking style, and he may want to honor Khalil in that way of, like, I'll strike with you since you're striking with me, and flatline him. I'm going to pick him by flying knee if I want to get specific into how, like, what technique he knocks him out with. I think it's going to be a flying knee. Lick and subscribe. I'll see you guys later and with an 80% pick rate this time instead of 50% like last time. It was terrible last time. We haven't been doing good. On these first 2 videos I've done, I have a not so great pick rate of 42%. So we're gonna get this turned around. Anyways, I will now see you guys later. Don't forget to like and subscribe.